Hello and welcome to a Brit Talks Basketball podcast where we're going to just be breaking down the trade deadline day. It's been a wild one. It's been one of the craziest ones we've seen, but we're just going to go back to the first trade. The trade that kicked it all off really was the Lakers trading Russell Westbrook in the three-team trade that landed D'Angelo Russell and Jared Vanderbilt and Malik Beasley as well. So Lakers finally got rid of Russell Westbrook. It needed to be happened. It wasn't working out. They got a guy that kind of fits in well with LeBron and AD offensively. He spaces the floor. He can play make, he can do stuff with the dribble. Russ wasn't the space that they needed. You can tell it wasn't working out. Driving to the rim where Davis and LeBron wanted to do the same thing. It wasn't really fitting out. And Russell, a bit more of a connector. He's actually played quite well in this calendar year. Offensively, obviously, defensively, there's no real improvement. They're still quite bad, even maybe even a bit worse. But what you get offensively gaining with Russell, defensively, Jared Vanderbilt, again, he's an amazing player. He's a really good player. Like, defensively, one of the best in the league. But, space in the floor, that's the issue with him. But when you add Russell to that, it adds quite a good dynamic. It worked, decently well in Minnesota when that happened. Last season, the playoffs with Towns at the center, Vanderbilt at the four. It worked quite well. But, the Minnesota decided to go with the Gobert trade, and that moved Vanderbilt to the Jazz. But I like the move for the Lakers. Beasley as well, whether he's a starter or off the bench, good player. Any playoff game, you can see him getting 25 points or 3 points as well. That's Malik Beasley, isn't it? But he's a spark plug off the bench that kind of needed a bit of that. We'll get into the other Lakers trade later, but it kind of complements these trades a little bit as well. But I like it on a Lakers standpoint. They needed to get rid of Westbrook, and they got a good playing Russell. Also movable contract as well. If it doesn't work out, they can move him as well. He's still a decent asset to have, even though he wasn't the most desirable player. But it's better than losing Westbrook for nothing. But also only traded one first round pick as well. They didn't trade that 2029 first round pick, trading just to the one first round pick. I think that's a good thing. And then, trading away Toscano Anderson, Damian Jones, doesn't matter. And then Alexander Walker to the Timberwolves. It doesn't really matter, but and then a couple hours later, we were on to the next trade. Josh Hart to the Knicks. A weird trade on the Blazers front. They get Cam Reddish and the first round pick, which isn't really a first round pick. It's protected and will just turn into second, so it's not really a first round pick. But why are you trading the Blazers are one of the weirdest teams. Like, they want to win. They have Damian Lillard. They keep saying Damian Lillard keeps saying, I want to win here. I want to win here. And they keep doing everything to stop him from winning. We'll get on to the other trades later because we're going through this chronologically. But all the other trades suggested that they don't want to win games. But they have Damian Lillard. He has to be moved in. The thing is, we keep saying this because they keep trading away good assets and say, they're going to get another move in the summer which is going to unlock it. And they never do that move. Like, they traded away CJ McCollum for that next move, but they got Jeremy Grant and Josh Hart from their moves. And they just traded Josh Hart for Cam Reddish. So technically, they really just traded CJ McCollum for Cam Reddish and a couple of picks. What? Why? It doesn't make sense. The Blazers make no sense. I wouldn't be surprised if Lillard moves on some, but it's a good move for the Knicks. Go straight into the starting lineup. You got Brunson, Barrett, Hart, Randall, and then Robinson when he's fit. I like it. He's a good, as a complimentary player. There's not made better. He's not going to be able to assert himself in a game like that. But defensively, he's really good. A good rebounder, space the floor. He works really well. Played with Brunson in college as well at Villanova. Just a smart player that you always want to have on your team, and he will help the Knicks. And they needed that. They needed that little extra, and they got it. And they didn't give up much. Just a Cam Reddish who wasn't playing, isn't very good, hasn't developed at all in the league, and a fake first round pick really. Next trade, Jakob Poeltl to the Toronto Raptors. Well, back to the Toronto Raptors. I'm pretty sure he's there already before, but protected 24 first round pick, 2 seconds to San Antonio Spurs for Pirtle to the Raptors. I like it. They get the big man they kind of needed. They're playing Siakam at centre. That wasn't really working. Pirtle's a good player. It will help them win games. So they'll probably now make the playoffs. Certainly, really, or at least the play-in. It will definitely help them win games now. And considering they didn't do any moves after that, that seems to be their aim right now. Is just make the playoffs and develop their players. But bit, weird players. But then the blockbuster trade happened. Phoenix Suns acquiring Kevin Durant. I was asleep, so I woke up to this, but the Suns gave up Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson, Jay Crowder, 4 first-round picks, a 2028 pick swap for Kevin Durant and TJ Warren. The new Suns owner, Matt Ishbia, I don't know how to pronounce that, was in for a day and he traded for Kevin Durant. Insane. So now the Suns starting line will probably be Chris Paul, Devin Booker, Kevin Durant, TJ Warren, DeAndre Ayton. So that's a very good team. It's not much depth to the team, but when you got them star players, it can work. And it's a very good move for the Suns. They wanted it. Kevin Durant kind of wanted that move in the summer, anyway, and he finally got that move. It was the preferred destination this summer. It didn't happen. He was like, okay, I'll play with the Nets, and then Kyrie requested a trade, got traded to the Mavericks. Check out that video if you haven't watched it already. And it kind of set off like it needed to be traded because the Nets, I don't think we're going to be able to trade for any big player after that trade. It was all role players at that point, and you can't be doing that. And with them not having their first round picks anyway, they just needed to recoup some picks because they weren't going to be that good or that bad. And with the teams, the Nets have right now, it's not a bad team. They have every single wing in the league. Royce O'Neal, Joe Harris, Dorian Finney-Smith. They had Jay Crowder, they traded him, Ben Simmons, Mikal Bridges, Cam Johnson. It's kind of the team you kind of want when Ben Simmons. It's going to be a very good defensive team, I think. With like Nick Claxton at centre, then you got probably Cam Johnson, Ben Simmons, Mikal Bridges, and Spencer Dinwiddie. That's a decent team. It goes back to what the 2018-19 Nets were like. A fun playoff team. Weren't going to beat anyone, but it was a fun team. And since they don't have their picks anyway, there's no incentive to lose. So might as well start trying to develop players. See if Bridges can turn into a good scorer. Can you get Ben Simmons to what he could have been? Cam Johnson, can you develop him more? It would have been nice to them get DeAndre Ayton in that deal, but with Nick Claxton doing well, probably wasn't the most important thing. But it would have been nice to see them get another asset like that. But they got a lot. Kevin Durant will probably ask for the trade, and it happened. And I think it needed to happen. But the West wide open right now. We'll go through the trades later to help the other teams and decide at the end. But the West is insane right now, and with the Phoenix Suns, you've got the playmaker Chris Paul, the 2 elite scorers, and Durant and Booker. It's a very good line. It's a very good and scary lineup for some teams. Big trade. Then we move on to trade deadline day. Well, the actual day, because it kind of happened the same in 24 hours. But we started off with the Lakers trading Thomas Bryant and Nuggets to Devon Reed and 3 second-round picks. No one really saw that coming, but apparently Thomas Bryant got annoyed at his minutes. Like, who are you? Okay, you're going to go to the Nuggets by Jokic because you're going to get so many minutes there. Didn't really make sense, did it? But, the Lakers probably happy with it. They got 3 seconds out of it, which we'll talk about what they did with that later. But I think that's a decent move for the Lakers. Thomas Bryant probably wasn't going to play that much. Might as well do it. Then the next trade, the Blazers acquiring Matisse Thybulle as part of the 3-way with Charlotte. So the Blazers got Thybulle, the Sixers got McDaniels, and Charlotte got a couple of seconds. Again, the Blazers, I assume, they basically swapped around Josh Hart and Gary Payton for Thybulle and some seconds. Because we'll talk about the Payton trade later, but that's basically what they did. And again, it doesn't make sense. Thybulle is really good defensively. He can't do anything else. And defensively, you can get around him being really good defensively as well. That's the hard thing with Thibault. Like you'd think he'd be really good, but you can get around him. Like on the ball, really really good. Off the ball, not the best, but he's still quite good. But you can get around him. And yet, his field kind of goes to Charlotte. It doesn't really matter, does it? But Jalen McDaniels to the Sixers, decent player. Good 3-and-D guy, can help on some nights. Probably won't play that much, but it's a good acquisition for a Thibault who was, wasn't playing that much. Might as well do it. And then the Nuggets trading for Bone Highland, or trading Bone Highland to the Clippers for 2 second rounds. This one seemed a bit dodgy to me because for some reason, in the first place, I still don't understand why Bones Highland wanted to leave in the first place. Really, he's a really good player. Not amazing like the starter level, but he's an effective guy, a microwave guy off the bench that can help you on some nights. Some nights, where he will drop 30 points, hit 5 threes, but some nights he won't do anything. But getting for 2 second round picks is a bit cheap. It was a good move by the Clippers. It didn't make sense at all, but from the Nuggets' point of view. But you got Jokic. I don't think you read that many players, and then we got another weird move. We got James Wiseman to the Pistons for Sadiq Bey, and you go, fair enough. Sadiq Bey to the Warriors, good move, good 3-and-D guy, can help, moves the ball well. Wiseman, it never really worked out. He's not really a smart enough player to fit in their system, and they don't have time for him to develop. Good move. And then suddenly Sadiq Bey's on his way to Atlanta, and you go, And you go, you're fitting well in Atlanta, kind of like DeAndre Hunter, really, but it's kind of a logjam in that position with John Collins as well, and it doesn't make sense. And then the Hawks giving Justin Holiday and Frank Kaminsky to Houston for Garrison Matthews and Bruno Fernandes just to save a bit of money. Doesn't matter. They'll probably get bought out. Like Houston Rockets are buying everyone out they bought. And then another 3-team trade where the Clippers get Eric Gordon back. Back as in 7 years later back, but getting back. They got him from the Rockets. The Rockets got Danny Green from the Memphis Grizzlies, and then the Clippers sent the Memphis Grizzlies Luke Kennard. I'd like the deal. The Grizzlies need that little extra. And Kennard's that extra. He can score, he can play, mate, can't defend, but you got Jaren Jackson behind him. You got other players, Dylan Brooks. I think it can work out quite well. We got him off the bench with Tyus Jones. I think that's quite a good combo. The Clippers adding Eric Gordon is just another player where it's just 3-and-D guy, can't do a lot but isn't bad. Around Leonard George, a good move though. A good move. Him and Norman Powell off the bench, I think it'll be quite good. With Bones Highland as well now. I think it's a good move for the Clippers. It's definitely improving them. That's the thing. They've improved. Eric Gordon's better than Luke Kennard. Fits in probably a bit better as well because he's less reliant to be on the ball than Kennard is. And then suddenly the Lakers have traded Patrick Beverley to the Magic from November in a second. Kind of makes sense. There's a bit of a logjam at guards at the Lakers with Russell, with Schroeder, Reeves, Walker. Other players, it kind of makes sense that they needed, to trade one of them. Patrick, the easiest probably to trade. He had a bit of money on his contract. Getting Bamba back, they need. With Thomas Bryant gone, they need another centre probably, but I don't really like it. Like, he still has potential, Bamba. His physicality is insane. Like, he's tall, he's long, but to be on a team that probably aiming to. I would say aiming for a championship, but we all know. Aiming to at least get the playoffs. Don't really like it. He's not the smartest player in the world. Bit weird one. Then, so I like it. I don't know. I assume Patrick Beverley's going to get bought out probably, and the rumours already going to go to Timberwolves, but I think the Lakers are fine with that because I feel like they're going to get a lot of buyout guys. The Lakers, they're always attractive for buyout guys. Then the Pistons are sending Kevin Knox to the Warriors. That will come in effect later. Another move for the Clippers I quite liked is trading Reggie Jackson for Mason Plumlee as a depth at centre. I really like Mason Plumlee. He's not the greatest player in the world, but he can defend. He's a good playmaker. He's a good team player. I like it. And Reggie Jackson, they had John Wall and Reggie Jackson as their guards. It wasn't really working that well. They got them both away. We'll talk about in a second with John Wall. They got them both out, bringing both high, and I assume they're bringing Russell Westbrook as well. So just reshuffling, see what works, because what was happening wasn't working. And then the Warriors admitted the mistake they made in the summer. They traded Kevin Knox and 5 second-round picks for Gary Payton. So they essentially traded James Wiseman for Gary Payton when they could just have both in the summer, but they didn't. Yeah, or they needed to do something. The Warriors, they need to add to their wing spots defensively, and Gary Payton said, "Well, Jordan Poole is really struggling without him off the bench with him. He needs that guy next to him, and DiVincenzo, he's a good defender, not great. Gary Payton is one of the best in the league, and he's been injured all season, so we haven't seen much of him this season. But you saw the effect he had on the Warriors last season. He was very, very good, helped them win the championship. He's definitely going to improve them, and with Steph Curry out as well until after the All-Star break, that's that. But then also forgot to mention that the Clippers are sending John Wall to the Houston Rockets in that deal as well. So I think that's all the moves. I just went through Woj's Twitter. I'll go to Chams now just to check. I didn't miss anything. Josh Richardson to the New Orleans Pelicans for a few seconds. Good deal. Add some bit depth to the Pelicans. They need something. They're probably trying to get Anunoby. It's probably too expensive. So Josh Richardson, a decent player. They've had quite a few injuries, so it's a bit more depth, to cover some stuff. Anything else? Darius Bazley to the Suns for Saric in a second. Good move. Darius Bazley, good young player. Not the greatest in the world, but good young player. Jay Crowder to the Bucks for 5 second-round picks. I like it. Brooklyn gets the second-round picks. They won't going to need Crowder anyway. They've got too many wings as it is. But 5 second-round picks is quite a few for a guy on an expiring. I think he's on an expiring contract. I'd expect him probably 2 or 3 seconds considering the market, but 5 second-round picks is a bit, yeah. But he helps them. It kind of fills in that PJ Tucker spot, which they kind of haven't filled since he left. I think that's a good signing. And trading away Jordan Nora doesn't really matter. Boston getting Mike Muscala, decent move. Justin Jackson wasn't getting used, so adding Mike Muscala, who might help them in some games. He's not going to make big minutes, but he's shooting big. Not too bad, but yeah. I think that's all the moves. A lot of moves is in this trade deadline. Now let's talk about where that leaves everyone now. So, 2 teams weren't involved in trades in this season. Was the Bulls and the Raptors, not the Raptors. What other team? My mind's gone blank now. Cavs. The Bulls and Cavs. The Bulls, I don't know why. They need to do something. They're just in that limbo where they're not good, they're not bad, in the middle, and they're not. They probably should have picked up some young pieces or at least some veteran pieces. Either way, didn't make sense. But so let's go through all the standings, see if they've improved and what the Celtics. They got a bit better. Mike Muscala, not much happened to them. They didn't need to do anything. Bucks, they've improved with Crowder. They're kind of going under the radar this season without, the three of Middleton, Holiday, and Giannis playing all together at once, and they're still 37-13. That's just how good they are. So I think they're probably now favourites for the Eastern Conference, definitely now, especially with the Brooklyn Nets blowing up. Sixers, Jalen McDaniels is a good move. I like that. Thibault wasn't playing that much, so it adds to that. McDaniels is definitely a better shooter than Thibault. Again, they've been quite good recently. There's no reason to do any massive changes. Cavs, I'd like them seeing got like Royce O'Neal or someone like that from, or Dorian Finney-Smith from the Nets. I think that would be a good move, but I think they're going to be a buyout candidates that they can move for, like Justin Holiday and stuff like that, just to improve that wing depth that they don't really have. Miami Heat, there was rumors of them trading Kyle Lowry, and then might get Russell Westbrook, but they didn't need to do much. They can't do much. They haven't got many assets to do much. They got some salaries they can trade, like Duncan Robinson, but no one wants him. So there's not much they could do. No one really wanted Kyle Lowry. The only thing they can do now is persuade Russell Westbrook or some other people to sign with Knicks. I like the move for Josh Hart. A good move. If you add another, if another star becomes available in the summer, he's the perfect guy to have next to them. I think that's the kind of moves that the Knicks are making right now, and I like that they have smart players in Brunson and Hart. It's always you're gonna win with smart players like that. Hawks, they didn't trade John Collins again. How many years are the Hawks going to be involved in trade talks with John Collins and not trade him? I don't understand it. They either want him or don't want him. They clearly are open to moving him, but keep not moving him. I don't know if that's because they're asking for too much or there's just no interest. It's just a very weird situation. I don't know what John Collins thinks about it because he's constantly involved in trade talks, and he's never traded. It's been every trade deadline for 3 years now. It's John Collins, and he's a good player. It's the weird thing because he's a good player and has a good relationship with Trae Young. It works at times, and you think let's just double down on this player. Let's help improve, but it never seems to go through. I don't know whether it's I don't know whether it's the Hawks offer him out. Everyone's interested in him because they want him. It's a very strange scenario. Very strange. And the Bulls, they're probably going to start sliding down a bit now with the Raptors coming up, Pacers coming up, maybe. It's a weird scenario. With Lonzo Ball out, they probably would have been a lot better with him, but they need to make something either to go up a few spaces or go down a few spaces. Stay in the middle just didn't make any sense. Raptors, what the report came out was that they were just gathering information. Really, they know the value of their players now. They know what people are willing to pay for their players now. And training for Pirtle, get their big man. It doesn't. They're not going to win many more games. I mean, they're 26-30. The best they can really probably do is the 8th seed, possibly the 7th seed, but that's very unlikely. It doesn't make sense that and I think they were probably asking for a lot. I think they were probably asking for 3 or 4 first round picks with like OG and everything. There's reports that the Warriors were interested in him. No, I don't think so. But yeah, they're sticking with their players. Maybe getting to the playoffs, that might up their value a bit. That maybe they're seeing it that way. That if we get to the playoffs and they do well, it will get us more picks in the future, or maybe we can trade for a star. But right now, they're probably asking for too much for 2 players, and there's too little time for teams to, put everything in right now. Pacers, they didn't do anything. Magic, game room Mobamba, they didn't really need him. They got Banchero, they got Carter, they got Bol. They didn't really need him. And if they get Wembanyama, I don't think they needed him. But it didn't really help them that much. He's a good shooter, but it's a weird player to have on your roster, and you might as well get the seconds. Like, you don't really care, but that seems like a waste of a pick now, doesn't it? Same with the Warriors and Wiseman. You change your second report for 5 seconds. Hornets, you're just bad. There's no need to do anything. Is there? You're just bad. They traded away Jalen McDaniels. Might as well just double down on being bad. Pistons. Trading away Steve Bear, it doesn't really make sense to me, but hey, and having Wiseman when you have Durant, Bagley, Stewart, again, doesn't make sense to me. Pay had a good contract, $2 million a year. I just don't understand it, really. They clearly didn't see that they had any more potential to go up a level. They just saw him as he is now, probably for the rest of his career. They probably see Wiseman as a player who isn't as good as Bay. We all know that, but the potential is there, and maybe unlike the other centres, they don't see that growth in them, but they might as well take the risk that Wiseman does grow into the player that he could. Teams thought he could be, to have him picked second in the draft. That's probably what they're thinking behind it, but I wouldn't have done it, but they did. But that's the Eastern Conference. That's good. Apart from the Nets probably moving down and the Raptors moving up a bit, there's not much change there. And maybe the Knicks going up a little bit as well, but not too far up. There's not much change there. The big changes are in the West. Like the Nuggets, they got Thomas Bryant. That's a good backup for Jokic. They might not be terrible when he's off the court now. DeAndre Jordan's not a good player. But getting rid of Bones Highland, that's not really helpful, is it? He was a good player off the bench. But now it's more touches for Jamal Murray, Michael Porter Jr. Now they're coming back from injuries and getting into more rhythm, like the 30 and 17 with them coming back from injuries. That's very impressive. Grizzlies, I wanted them to trade for Anunoby, but Kennard's a good signing. But with everything that's happened in the West, you kind of need them to have a bit more on that to them now. Like staying put wasn't, with what happened, staying put wasn't a good thing, but that's why they probably traded for Kennard. But I'd have liked them to go on for Anunoby, but clearly Toronto were probably asking for too much for them to pull the trigger right now. Kings didn't have to do anything. They didn't have to do anything. They find us they're not going for a championship. They're just going to improve this season. And being third in the West is an improvement. Mavericks, they did all their business the other day with Kyrie Irving. They're maybe thinking of trading Christian Wood, but there's not much market out there. Buyouts are going to have to be a thing, especially defensive players on the buyouts. That's going to be important to them. Suns, obviously, they've improved. You think they've improved at least. They got rid of all the front court depth they had for Kevin Durant, and that's what you have to do with these star players. You're going to have Chris Paul playing 40 minutes, Devin Booker playing 40 or so, Durant playing 40 or so, Ayton playing 40 or so. There's not much room for anybody else anyway. But you just got the problem is having a few months to get this all together because Durant's still injured. He's still got a couple of weeks left of his injury. Booker's just getting back. Paul's just got back. You got a couple of months for this to work. Next season, I don't think it can work because I don't think Chris Paul's going to be the same player at the end of next season. You never know what with Durant. He's had quite a few injuries. This has to work this season, and then you've got 3-4 months for it to work and get together and work and make it click. That could be very difficult. That's the one thing that could happen right now, is that it could be very difficult for these players to come together. Same with the Dallas Mavericks. With all these players coming together right now, and with teams that might not be as good, like the Pelicans, the Clippers, maybe not the Clippers because they don't play together anyway, but even the Kings, the Memphis Grizzlies and Nuggets, they might not have a great collection of talents, but they play together more often. We saw what happened in the Nets last season. They had a great team. They got swept by the Celtics because they couldn't play together. They didn't know how to play together. The Suns have to... There's not that many games left of the regular season. There's about 30 games left. So are they going to be able to win the championship by only playing 30 games together? It's going to be a hard one. It's going to be very, very hard. They could do it. That's how special Kevin Durant is. It's not the hardest fit in the world. He complements other players very well. But these things sometimes take time, and they don't have time. It's going to be a very interesting watch to see how this clicks. And there's a difference between clicking in the regular season and the playoffs as well. In the regular season, teams aren't trying as hard. They're not all focused on you. When they can find weaknesses in playoffs of teams, and it's going to be very interesting to see how these teams that are newly constructed, like very newly constructed, act in the playoffs. Because some teams take a season to do it. They're going to have to get in a couple of months. Clippers, I think they've improved, adding Eric Gordon, adding Plumlee, Highland, getting rid of Kennard. Jackson, Wall, then probably Eden Westbrook as well, which is I don't understand really personally, but they seem to be able. But as it was again, like I said, it wasn't working. It wasn't working. John Wall didn't add the shooting, the spacing, explosion that people thought. Reggie Jackson, it's just there. Doesn't add too much really. We could say the same could be said for the other players, but Eric Gordon, I like Eric Gordon, but again, point guard I think is the issue for this team. They don't have that player even just off the bench to command the second unit. Even with their star players, they don't command games like that. So they could have come unstuck when they need to play makers and they're forced to play make. But they've improved. They've improved, and if they start playing together now, it might start working. But low management, all that, and they might not play together. Pelicans training for Josh Richardson, getting rid of Devontae Graham, who wasn't contributing anyway. But so it's a good move, adds more depth. Now they're just waiting for Williamson to come back, and then they can get back to where, because it got hard for them recently. Timberwolves getting rid of Russell was needed. Getting Mike Conley back, I forgot to mention that as well earlier, but getting Mike Conley, it does not make sense. It does kind of, because they get the first round pick, which can they trade later, but with Mike Conley, that asset's just going to be gone next season. Or at least the end of next season, because he's 35 years old. There's not much you can do. There isn't not much you can do, so you just got to hope it works out. But at least you got to say that they're doing this to help Gobert. Because Edwards has no idea how to play with Rudy Gobert. Towns has no idea that he's been injured for a while, so he has no idea how to play with Gobert. You're getting someone that played with him for 2 seasons, knows what he can do, what he can't do, what he likes, what he doesn't like. So that I assume this is helping Gobert integrate the team, which for the long term might help them. I mean, there isn't that much long term on this team. They've really made an emphasis of them having to win now with the Gobert trade because he's 30 years old. They haven't got 3 years to wait probably, which I think they should have probably done. But that's a whole other conversation on whether they should have traded with Gobert, which the answer probably wasn't. Definitely was no. But yeah, getting Conley, it's a good move, especially if they get Beverly out of buyout. That's getting Conley, Beverly, Edwards back at 3, Towns 4, Gobert 5. That's a good team. That's a good team. More emphasis now on Edwards and Towns rather than having it all a bit on Russell as well. I don't mind it, but getting rid of Beasley, yeah. I like that they give him more responsibility to Anthony Edwards because he's a special player, isn't he? Warriors, they've improved. They've definitely improved. Getting rid of Wiseman, who was out he was terrible. He has no idea where he needs to be. The Warriors system is so complex, his head can't comprehend where he needs to be, and it never has. And that's because he just hasn't played. And asking for someone who hasn't played through college, being his rookie year, out his whole second season, and this is his 3rd season now. I think the 4th season. I think this is 4th season at least, but third or 4th. I don't even know. Lost track of time. But yeah, he couldn't do it. He just couldn't. I don't think he ever was, because every time he was on the court, they were just losing, and they couldn't do that anymore to him or to them, because they're 9th in the West. They're slipping, and the Thunder are slowly catching up. The Lakers want to catch up. Any more slippage, and they suddenly might not be in the playoffs with Steph Curry's injury. Suddenly, it might not be in the playoffs. Payton helps that. Wiseman was not helping at all. He was out of the rotation. He was in the G League. Payton helps that. And this should guarantee them a playoff spot unless Steph Curry his injury worsens. This should get them into the playoffs. And that's what they needed right now. And for a championship, I don't know. But we didn't maybe think of that last year. And like I said earlier, with the teams in the West, like the Suns and the Clippers, the Mavericks, that don't know how to play with each other yet. The Warriors, obviously, I think they know how to play with each other by now. It's been a good decade. I think they should know by now. These playoff series come down to how well you know your teammates, and they know each other so well. With Peyton, it's another player they know well and trust. It could really help them in the playoff series. It may not help them regular season wise, but in the playoffs and play-ins, it would help. Blazers, like I said, I don't know what they're not trying to win. They're not trying to lose. It doesn't make sense. It they traded Josh Hart and Gary Payton for 5 seconds and a first, and Matisse Thybulle. Why? Just you say you want to help Damian Lillard, but you're not. Your actions aren't showing it. They're really not. They're really not showing it. Unless, like I said before, like this all comes up to a trade for some superstar. They're never winning anything with Damian Lillard. This team has been 500 below since Damian Lillard knocked OKC out of the playoffs and with his game winning shot beat Denver. Ever since then, they've been below 500. Not in the playoffs. I don't think they've been in the playoffs since, have they? No, they were against the Lakers a year later, but they got gentlemen swept, didn't they? Or just swept. Like, it's just a bad team, and everything they've done with Jerry Grant, even with the Josh Hart move, like it's just plateau. Plateau being an average team. They keep changing things, but they keep changing things being average. It doesn't make sense. I think they're probably now with the Thunder now coming up with how well Shea's playing, the Williamses are playing with Giddy as well. Thought they might start creeping them up above the Blazers, and I don't think they will do Blazers. Get in the playoffs. Jazz getting some first, getting rid of some players. I think it's a good move for them. You know, they needed to start losing some games. I think that was the move. We need to start losing a few more games. Not too many more. Not too many more. But I think they needed to start losing games. They weren't going to make the playoffs. They had a good start, but it's only got worse, and I wouldn't surprise if they win 5 games for the rest of the season. That wouldn't surprise you. Thunder trading Baisley for Saric. Yeah. Baisley, he hasn't developed into players they probably thought they could have had. And they probably didn't see any development path for him. But with all the first round picks, they probably can get someone better than him in the future. And getting Saric, I always like these veterans on these teams. They always help out, and he can help out and get in the second round. It's a good thing. Lakers, they've definitely improved the Lakers. To what extent they've improved, I don't know. They're 25 and 30, they're 13th in the West. Can they make the play-in? Probably. Can they make the playoffs? Maybe. Can they win a playoff round? Probably not. They don't know how to play with each other. LeBron James is 38 years old. Anthony Davis is so hot and cold, it's insane. Like they've got better, but so much better, I don't think so. Like, they're not going to win a championship. There's so many better teams than them. Buyout market, that could maybe change things. If some good players do actually get bought out from us, if the Nets stop buying out some players, then maybe. But I don't think so. And like the other teams, they've got 30 games now to, get better and get work together to know each other well and stuff like that. But I don't see it happening. I think they can maybe make the playoffs. That's to what extent they've improved. They can maybe make the playoffs with LeBron James and Anthony Davis. Think of what this team was 2-3 years ago. Spurs, train Josh Richardson. Again, you're getting some picks out of it. You're not getting any better. So you're one of the worst teams in the league. Rockets, you've just got a few picks for players you didn't need. and guys just gonna buy out. So I think that's fine. But who won the trade deadline? The Suns. They got Kevin Durant. I think that's a winner. But other than that, the Knicks with Josh Hart. I'd probably say the Clippers as well with Eric Gordon and Mason Plumlee and Bones Hyland. I think that's some good moves. But other than that, there's not none of these moves. There was a lot of moves. Like there's a lot of moves, but not too many. We go. They've won that. They've definitely won that. They've definitely lost that. Just every go you go. Yeah, makes sense. But yeah, I think that's gonna end it there. Just gonna check if there's any other news before I end this, but yeah, I think the, I think the best teams in the conferences still remain. Still think the Nuggets are the best team in the West. And I still think between the Bucks and Celtics, probably the Bucks are the best teams in the East. I don't think anything changed my mind on them decisions. Maybe the Suns become the second best team in the West. Maybe the Warriors up there, but I don't think there's too much change in there. But yeah, the West is still as wide open as I thought, and it's even more wide open. It's mental right now. The playoffs are going to be mental, and we're going to look forward to that. But trades are over. It's all about the buyouts now. But that's a separate date. Thanks for watching. See you next time.